Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. I'm Previous the Tutor, as you know, the best online tutor. And I have a question here and more concept, of course. It says calculate the mass of copper in the 2 grams of copper to sulfate. So they just want the mass of copper, nothing else. Are we together? So they just want the mass of copper in copper to sulfate. So it's like I have a substance. Let's call this one copper 2. We call this copper 2 sulfate, right? Then out of this sample, which is made up of copper and sulfate, I just need a small piece to do with what? To do with copper. So I want the mass out of this mass, which is 32 of this, the entire. I just want the mass of copper. How much copper is there? So having that information, let's go on. So the mass, I'm giving you the formula. The mass of an element in a compound is equal to mass number of that element, over the molar mass, which is the molecular, or you can say the relative molecular mass of the entire compound now, multiplied by the sample mass. The sample mass is the mass which has been given. Now, having this formula, can we go now and answer the question? Let us collect our data here. What's our sample mass? Our sample mass is just 32 grams. The mass number of the element which is of copper on the periodic table, we know that is 64, right? Then you have the mixture of copper to sulfate. How do we go about it? You know that procedure, right? Pa. We have 4 oxygen, mass number 1648. Is it? Or yes. So 64. We have 1 sulfur, mass number is 32. We have 32 there. We have 1 copper multiplied by mass number 64. We get 64 there. So let's add now. Plus 64 plus 32. I'm getting 160 grams per watt. Or we can just leave it as 160 grams. So we have the mass number. We have the sample mass. We have the mixture. Let's find out the mass of copper. So mass of copper in copper sulfate, copper to sulfate, is just the mass number of copper is 64 over the mixture is 160 multiplied by the sample mass is 32. So let's do that. So 64 multiplied by 32 and by 160, I'm getting 12.8 grams of what? Of copper in copper to sulfate. Is that difficult to answer? Okay, for me, I teach for the better, and you can get all the information at the tips of your finger. I don't know if that's how they say it. Anyway, you know what to do.